Hey everyone, I'm Jessica. Ever since the Mega Man X series came out, who didn't want a game dedicated to the Z-Saber slicing Reploid Zero? Capcom delivered by getting Into Creates to develop Mega Man Zero, a side-scrolling action platformer on the Gameboy Advance. Mega Man X and Zero were so cool when I was a kid, so you can imagine how excited I was to get Mega Man Zero, and I absolutely loved this game. But this game absolutely kicked my butt as a child. Despite my efforts, it just wasn't a game I could complete, getting through a couple missions here or there, and then just dying to some monkey over and over again. Ugh. I did finally finish the game years later and was a little bit worried about coming back to it for this review. So how did I fare this time around? Let's get started. A few things to note before we get into the story. Reploids are androids that generally resemble humans with complete free will and thought processes. There are subclasses of Reploids such as Mutos Reploids, which resemble animals or mythological creatures. Mavericks are Reploids that have become a danger to humans, and in the context of this game, retire means to execute or kill. Yeah, I know, even Zero was a little confused. Mega Man Zero takes place over a century after the events of the Mega Man X series. The city of Neo Arcadia was built so that Reploids and humans could live happily together. With a shortage of E-crystals, peace didn't last long as the leaders of Neo Arcadia began falsely accusing Reploids of being Mavericks and retiring them. These Reploids were forced to escape and seek safety in a devastated city, along with their leader Seal, a kind-hearted human scientist and former Reploid researcher, forming the Resistance. Seal and a group of Resistance troops are chased in an underground lab where they discover Zero, who Seal regards as the legendary Reploid, and proceeds to awaken him. They manage to escape, and Zero agrees to help the Resistance even though he's lost his memory. Wait, do they always have to lose their memory? Anyway, Zero assists Seal and the Resistance by taking on various missions, each featuring a specific assignment such as finding a hidden base and rescuing prisoners, or gaining control of a factory when the supply of energy for the Resistance is running low. In one scenario, a giant megaloid is threatening to destroy your base. You immediately go to stop the threat before it reaches the Resistance base, permanently demolishing parts of buildings if you're unable to do so fast enough, emphasizing the sense of urgency. Because every mission highlights a different objective, rather than solely focusing on defeating bosses, they're able to add more layers and depth to the story and characters. Zero had a redesign featuring less of the bulky armor he had in most of the X games, having a sleeker style similar to when he made his first appearance in the X series. Character designs were really well done. I already liked Zero, so there wasn't a whole lot they could do to mess that up, but the 4 Guardian designs are all really impressive. Each one is unique and has their own personality traits. The music is good, but nothing I would turn on to listen to in my free time. It never got repetitive because missions are generally pretty quick. The only time you might experience some dullness is if you're exploring the hub world for an extended period of time. All the sound effects suit the gameplay from Zero's movements to the enemy attacks. There can be a lot going on at one time and really adds to the intensity. Dying just sounds painful when you blow up, and is something you may just have to get used to hearing. In terms of backgrounds and sprites, Mega Man Zero doesn't do anything groundbreaking. They're nice though, especially for a GBA game, but I've always thought Zero's sprite looked just a little bit awkward when he's not moving. When he's in motion is when I think the game really shines. The animation quality from Zero swinging his Z-Saber and dashing up walls to enemies and bosses is very fluid and satisfying to look at. The focus of Mega Man Zero is to complete missions from Seal, who will brief you on objectives. Majority of missions consist of a platforming segment, boss fight, and the mission objective. Objectives can range from destroying the enemy's computer system to stop a hacking, to escorting an injured Reploid across the desert. Missions are completed in different locations, and one of my favorite parts of this game is that the hub world is all connected. You can reach every place you've been to from the Resistance space by exploring enough. To assist with platforming, Zero has his wall jump and dashing abilities. Control feels consistent and handles very well. Now I do die a ton in this game, but the platforming sequences were never a huge issue for me. One thing I need to mention: does there always have to be a disappearing block segment? The most important thing I have to stress is patience. Because this is a GBA game, the in-game screen doesn't extend very far, so it limits your vision. It's not a real problem though, as I think it provides enough vision once you're in the proper range. Rushing in without knowing what's in front of you leads to a high probability of dashing into an enemy or straight into a pit or spikes. Zero has access to 4 different weapons: his signature Z-Saber for slashing enemies to bits, a Z-Buster for long-ranged attacks, the Triple Rod which is capable of striking in all 8 directions, and the Shield Boomerang for reflecting small yellow bullets. In Mega Man Zero, you don't gain upgrades to your weapons from defeating bosses, but by consistently using them, they will level up to a certain point. Upon leveling up the Z-Saber, Zero can perform a triple slash, spinning slashes in the air, a rolling dash, and a charged attack. Zero remains nimble while using the Z-Saber, able to execute acrobatic attacks. You don't just level up the Z-Saber by using it, but by using specific attacks. If you were to jump slash more often, you would attain the spinning slashes faster, and you would need to dash slash in order to unlock the rolling dash. Personally, I really like this aspect because there's not a set order in receiving abilities, it'll match up to your playstyle. Leveling the Z-Buster will allow Zero to perform charge shots and shoot more pellets. I primarily use this for clearing out dangerous hazards or fighting bosses from a safe distance. A weapon I never got the full potential out of was the Triple Rod. Really cool item that allows you to bounce off of certain enemies and hazards, but I always struggled with the execution. The charge attack never really impressed me either, since you lose some of your mobility, which is Zero's greatest asset. Now, I was really surprised by this, but I ended up truly enjoying using the shield boomerang. It's incredibly easy to level up if you position yourself right, just set it and forget it. By leveling the shield, you can throw it farther distances, but this isn't the best part to me. It's really useful blocking bullets, which could otherwise cause you to take unnecessary damage. Holding out the shield while attacking with the Z-Saber causes animation cancelling, and allows you to absolutely shred certain bosses with good positioning. Such an awesome weapon. Take that, monkey. There are 3 elemental chips, Thunder, Fire, and Ice, which you can equip giving your charged attacks elemental power. Thunder and Ice allow you to stun certain enemies and hazards, while Fire burns them. Majority of bosses have a specific elemental weakness. Cyber Arrows are the collectible of this game. They provide a range of support from healing or saving you from dying in a pit. Some Cyber Arrows need to be fed before you can use them, and are the ones that provide permanent utility. They can increase your health bar, increase your defense, and are even the sub-tanks of this game, permitting you to store extra health. Cyber Arrows can be found in set locations of an area, and by defeating enemies and bosses. Sounds great so far, right? Well, each Cyber Arrow can only be used once, by the way. Then they essentially die. Yes, they die. Megaman Zero makes you feel terrible by saving these Cyber Arrows. Then if the game gets too difficult, you use them to lighten the difficulty at the cost of these cute little things' lives. Safe to say, I do not like using Cyber Elves. I'm gonna come back to weapons and Cyber Elves in just a second, but first, we finally made it. Let's talk bosses. Bosses are gonna make or break you. The first time I tried to beat them, I needed to play the same level over and over until I got a proper understanding of their patterns. They are very difficult. While using the elemental weaknesses of bosses can turn some into a complete joke like Harpooya for example, others remain very difficult and are hard to read even if you know their movesets. Megaman Zero doesn't have an infinite number of retries. The ones you get you're most likely going to want to save for the endgame, so every time you die you're going to have to restart your save file if you want to pass the mission. You can fail missions, but it's not advisable because you lose out on any items only attainable during that time. After a lot of trial and error, and properly understanding where to position yourself and when to attack bosses, they become significantly easier. There's a boss gauntlet at the end of the game where you have to fight 8 of the previous bosses, and honestly, it felt great. There's a certain satisfaction I got from struggling for so long against these guys, but then proceeding to run through all of them. Okay, so we're gonna come back to weapons and Cyber Elves now, and this is where I have a bit of a conflict with this game. If you want to level your weapons early on, you're gonna have to do a little bit of grinding, killing enemies over and over just to get certain abilities. And who wants to grind in an action platformer, right? I initially really didn't like this, but it can make certain bosses early on much easier than they would have been. This is great for the more casual player that might not have the same capabilities and reactions as someone more seasoned. Being able to grind from the beginning of the game provides just a little bit of a buff, even if the overall game is still difficult. So this should be the same with the Cyber Elves, right? Well, not quite. Cyber Arrows are essentially the collectible for this game, which means some are much more difficult to get than others, meaning the casual player is going to have a tougher time attaining certain ones in the first place, especially since they can only be used once. I think some tweaks to the Cyber Elf system could have been made. Well guys, we made it. Megaman Zero is a pretty hard game, albeit my in-game playtime was only about 2 hours. Although it has its problems with lives, or lack of, and a few other things, it's still a very satisfying game to finish, with a variety of missions to keep things interesting. If you're looking for a hardcore action platformer, I highly recommend this game. If you want something a bit easier, maybe check out the X series instead. Maybe I'll come back to the Zero series in the future. I haven't played the other 3 games yet, or maybe I'll check out the ZX series. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.